with all that jazz. Oh my god, please stop it. Sit back down. I'm gonna sit back down. I'm gonna calm down. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I don't know where I was at. Hello, Earth Angels. How you guys doing today? I hope you're all vibing and thriving and feeling real good. If you're new to my channel, my name is Vanna, and today I'm back with another chat up. So, how my channel is going to be going for a couple months at this point. Tuesdays are going to be Truth-Telling Tuesdays, so that means I'm coming on here with a topic that's either been on my mind or maybe you guys suggest along the line, who knows, but something that I can speak from my own experience, and I'm just going to chat with you guys and hopefully connect with you guys and help people, if anything, or maybe help myself. Who knows? I might watch these down the line because I sometimes do that. And then Thursdays will be Tarot Thursday, so that is where I'm going to be bringing a tarot reading to you guys. So you will be seeing one this Thursday. I promise. And yeah, it's just going to help me to have a schedule, not overwhelm myself, but be able to still give you guys content and also extend a piece of my heart to you guys on these Tuesdays as well. So the topic that we're actually going to be talking about today, as you guys see from the title, is losing faith. This is something that I have been struggling with a lot lately. It's a very new feeling, so I'm just going to be sharing my personal experiences. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD yet. Okay, we working on her, but I am just sharing my experiences. If you have any knowledge that you would like to share, any articles or anything, feel free to leave it down below. I always appreciate it, and let's just go ahead and get talking about losing faith. So this is something, like I said, I'm currently struggling with. We can date this all the way back to my childhood. Though I don't remember a lot of my childhood, if you've been on my page before, you know I have a lot of amnesia. There's just a lot of mental blocks. It just kind of happened. So there's a lot of things that I don't remember. But one thing that I became very good at as a kid is my imagination and writing and storytelling. And because of that, I was the type of person to write journals. I wrote a hell of a lot of journals. Kind of creeped me out for a second there. There's this fucking skeleton on the thing, and I don't know, I just looked over and it's like he's staring into my soul. Whew, creeped me out a little bit, not gonna lie. And so I kept a lot of journals. I mean, from the moment I learned to form sentences, your girl was writing. That became a huge outlet for me. That became something that was very important to me, to be able to just share my experience and, I guess, I don't know, release a lot of anger. I was a really emotional child. I'm a really sensitive and emotional person. I've learning to accept that about myself. There's really nothing I can do about that. But in order for me to not basically lose my mind, I had to get these feelings out in some way. And I just saw 444, and that number to me always talks about creativity. That is like a huge creativity number. And so I did that. I wrote stories, and in ways I didn't realize I was trauma healing. Through writing these stories, I would make these characters that were outside of myself, and basically they had a whole bunch of drama that was going on in their life, and that was a way for me to cope with the shit that I had going on in my life. And I think it was also a way for me to justify my pain, because when I was a child, I didn't feel like I had a right to feel so sad, because my life on the outside looked very normal. I had two parents. I grew up in a two-parent household. They were working all the time. You know, I was able to get basically anything I wanted. Of course, money was a thing, so if it was something that was too expensive, we had to wait a while, but it was okay. I was okay with that. But it was one of those things that I felt like my pain was unjustified. I was always sad. I was always angry. I was always I felt alone. I felt isolated. I felt by myself. I felt like I wasn't worthy of anything, and I couldn't understand why. I was like, you have more than most kids have, and I felt like I was being ungrateful. Little did I know I was just hurting. I was hurting because on the outside, my family looked great, but there was a lot of things that were going on and secrets that weren't really secrets, but people tried to keep as secrets, and there was just a lot that was being held in. And for me, growing up, emotionally, I guess it just was too much for me, you know? It was too much for me, and it was bigger than what I could comprehend. So I turned to journaling, and there are moments that I would go back, because I still have quite a bit of my journals. I would go back and I would read through my journals, and I would realize I had a faith in God. So we grew up, not really a full church-based family. We went to churches sometimes, and there was one period of our lives where we were going every week, you know, and going through the week here and there. And there was a lot of people around us. Like, growing up in a small community, God was the main thing, you know, like everybody was a churchgoer, and if you weren't, you were basically like, you're gonna burn in hell type shit, you know. That's the type of community we grew up in. And so we were going to church, and we were learning about God and all of that. And so before I knew about universe, spirit, and all of that, it was always God. I had a faith in God, and I didn't realize until I would go back and reread my journals that even when I was upset, angry, pissed off, and I felt like the world was against me, there would always be a moment. There would always be a moment where I would write, but I know God has my back. You know, I know God's going to take care of this for me. I don't have to worry about it because God is going to deal with this. Like, this is, I'm his child. He's going to care for me. I did this every single time, especially in my darkest of days where I just lost trust in everything. Oh my God, there's a fucking bee. Please, please, please don't. I can't handle bees. I can't. Growing up, I was, like I said, a very isolated child. I didn't have too many friends. I dealt with myself a lot. And my mom even says this, that I was like this even when I was really little. I was always off by myself. It was just something that I guess became comfortable to me. Like, I had to find a way to protect myself from whatever was going on. I like I said, not hating on my family. I'm not trying to make y'all think that I had this bad childhood, because overall I really didn't. But you know, emotionally I was just distressed, and so I had to find ways to basically detach myself from that in ways that were healthy. So I was constantly by myself. I was constantly daydreaming, writing, playing by myself. You know, I would deal with my family here and there, but it was just mostly a me thing. And with that, I grew up kind of emo and gothic and all that jazz. Oh my God, please stop it. Sit back down. I'm gonna sit back down. I'm gonna calm down. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I don't know where I was at. Like I said, I was very unique. I always felt like I was the black sheep. I was different. I was quiet. I wore a lot of black early on. I mean, I did have my phases where I would go through different phases trying to figure out myself, as everybody does. And it also kind of made me realize that certain days when I dressed like certain things, I was probably a different alter. Because looking back on my school experience, I really do realize there were a lot of switches that would happen. Never forget the day my friend at the time called me a dyke, and I later learned that person that was fronting, I think it could have been a group of people, but I do remember meeting the altar that was, at least a altar that was similar to that experience, because they definitely remembered that experience too, and it hurt my feelings. But you know what, moving on. In elementary school, I was bullied a lot. It was almost like every year until my 5th grade, was it 5th grade, or until middle school hit, I was bullied, and it was always a black girl who was the new girl. And mind you, in my head, I'm thinking, you know, we're the minority here. All right, I went to a pretty much an all-white school. There was maybe 4 of us in total, me, my sister, a guy, and 2 guys that I knew that was basically black. Like, it was not a diverse school at all, okay? It was brown white people, and I was the minority to an extreme, okay? I didn't have any black teachers, like even teachers of any race but white in that school. And so when these new girls would come in, they would be another black girl. And, you know, my family and them, when they talk about it now, it was probably a jealousy thing, like, or they felt like they had to compete or whatever. But that was really dumb to me, because why are you trying to compete for whatever reason. I will never forget, there was a girl, so mind you, I went to pre-K, I'm kind of going off track, but it's okay, in Indiana, and I was friends with this girl. She was one of my friends, and so I ended up going to like elementary school in Kentucky, and she also eventually moved to Kentucky, and I remembered her because she was one of my friends. I had like 2 friends that I like would hang out with, and I went to their houses and stuff, and she was one of them, and she came to the school and she tried to bully me, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that shit didn't make sense to me. And it happened all throughout middle school, and it got to the point, like, every year, like, I told you I was a sensitive person. I'm not confrontational. I'm not going to try to fight you or anything. I told my mom and they handled it. Okay. The school handled it. Like, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. If you are not a confrontational person, you tell somebody so that shit can stop. If that's your way of protecting yourself, protect yourself. Like, that doesn't make you weak or anything. Like, you don't have to fight to be a strong person. You don't have to be combative, any of that. And I wasn't. So I told, and that shit got handled quick, fast, in a hurry, because my family did not play that shit. But it made me grow angry, especially towards females, because it was always females that wanted to just be cruel to me, you know, and like it made no sense to me. Like, I didn't feel like I was a threat. I didn't feel like I was anything, but it could be one of those things which maybe they felt my energy, maybe they saw something in me that I didn't, because when I tell you I was shy and quiet and I just didn't believe in myself, and I mean, I still struggle with this to this day. That's something I've known my entire life. I've never felt good enough. I've never felt like I can compete or even be on the same level of anybody. But even with all of that, and all this bullying, this isolation, being a convenience friend. So like when I was in high school, a lot of my friendships were out of convenience. People didn't deal with me unless I was there until my senior year. My senior year got a lot better, but even then I still kind of felt that way, because I don't know, I was always the type of person who wanted to be around the people that I care about. But like I said, I've always had a hard time texting, and I've always had a hard time calling on the phone. It's just a lot of energy for me to do such a thing, but nowadays that's like how people communicate. But I'm a quality time person. Like, I like to be in your space, in your area. Like, I like to be around you, even if we're not doing shit, we're just hanging out talking. It feels a lot better to me than to try to hold a conversation through a text, or because I don't want to be on my phone just texting all the time. Like, there's other things that I want to do, not because I don't care about you. It's just I don't like being on my phone texting. Like, it makes me anxious too when people reply fast. That seems kind of silly, but it does. But anyway, I digress. So being that type of person, I didn't have a whole bunch of people around me all the time. And because of that, it, again, also kind of gave me like texting trauma or socialization trauma. I have a lot of trauma, just situations that I kind of don't do things a certain way nowadays because of how I was treated when I was younger. I say all this because even through all this time, I still had my faith. I told you I would always go back and read journals or anything like that. Even when I wrote stories, there was always some little tiny spiritual element to it. And I remember I wrote a story in middle school, and in the end, what it ended up being, like, one of the main characters, okay, it was a fan fiction. Okay, so I died, quote unquote, I died. I loved One Direction, and Zayn stayed alive, but we were in love, and I ended up passing on, but he could still visit me once a year. And it was just my spirit, my essence. And I remember my sister and my friend at the time made fun of me for it, but that was just something, it just felt right to me to add some shit like that in there. Like, yeah, it wasn't hinted at throughout the whole story, but like, oh well, like, it's something beautiful, and I thought it was beautiful, but they thought it was funny, and that kind of fucked with me a little bit. But I look back now and I'm like, I mean, that was just who I was. I did shit like that, which leads me to my college experience. And when I say this, you probably heard me if you've like listened to me talk and stuff before. College felt like the really like big beginning of my spiritual awakening, like awaking up to everything, like the first big moment where it all just hit me, like there might be something bigger out there. And it may not just be God, and it's okay that it may not just be God. It's okay that there is a chance that there's spirits that walk with you, ancestor spirits, your spiritual team, your guides, multiple gods and goddesses and elementals that help you, and extraterrestrial beings that help you, and you're beyond your body. You know, when I was in college, I went 2 hours away, which was the first thing that was a big change for me, because my family was always together. My mom drove us everywhere. We worked with them. We lived with them. Anywhere I needed to go, it was her taking me. And we were just always together. And though it was a beautiful thing, that can be very toxic sometimes when you have like no space from each other. And so when I moved to college, when I went 2 hours away, I was doing things by myself. You know, I didn't have my mom in the house. I didn't have my dad in the house, my sisters in the house. I didn't have anybody that I feel like I have to put on a front for. And I know it sounds sad, but like I feel like there's a part of me that feels like I have to not disappoint them. And that's what I mean by put on a front. And so I sometimes I don't act like who I would act with just friends or just by myself. And when I went to college, that all changed. You know, I was able to do what I wanted to do, and not really fear disappointment, which is something that I don't like doing. I don't like disappointing those I love. And that's like the biggest takeaway for me, is that I always thought I was going to disappoint the people in my life. I always thought I was going to disappoint them by just being myself. And that means making mistakes. That means doing stupid things. I didn't allow myself to do that. But when I was in college, I did so many things out of my character, but I felt the most free, even though I was overwhelmed and towards the end, just drained, because where I was at wasn't good. My environment wasn't great in terms of like the roommate situation, in terms of just school was really difficult at that moment. My mental health had just taken a toll, which is okay, it happens. I still made a lot of decisions, and I was proud of myself for just doing it. You know, I met a guy, and even though I'm grateful nothing else happened out of that, he was a big opener to my spiritual awakening too. It got me into tarot. It got me into just having a personal connection. And it was like when I got out of college, or when COVID hit, and I decided to, you know, get off campus and go home, that's where it kind of started triggering up wanting to do this YouTube channel. And so I made this YouTube channel, and I just decided to do one of the most cliche videos that you see a lot, and it's like, what details about your future spouse. And it was the really intense, and it's still up here today, with the little slips of paper, and like, what are they gonna look like, and XYZ. And I had so much fun with it because I really wanted to do it. And it was one of those things where I did tarot, and I started tarot because I just wanted to have fun. I would watch other people, and I don't know why, seeing them flip the card over and show the camera, like I just wanted to do that. I'd be like, damn, I like that should be me. Like, and so that's why I did it. That's why I started doing it. And at the time, you know, I was really new to tarot. I think it was probably a couple months in that I had been reading it, and I just did it, and it eventually everything just popped off, and it felt good because it was just something that I wanted to do. And so then we moved. I decided that I didn't want to stay in Louisville. I decided I wanted to come to California with my family. And when that happened, when I tell you that was probably another big spiritual shift in my life, it was. When I came here, I had this romanticized view of everything, of what California was going to be like, of the life I was going to live out here. I was going to meet so many people. I was going to meet the love of my life. I was going to have so many friends. I was going to be driving, be with my family all the time, and just be happy. I just thought this move was going to change everything. And I had the rudest fucking awakening when I got here, because even though a lot of things did change, I was still unhappy, and it's because I'm unhappy with myself. I'm still sad a lot of the times because there's still a lot of things that haven't been healed. And when I got here, and I had to start, I really tried heavily to just focus on tarot. I just wanted my tarot to pop off so that I didn't have to work a 9 to 5, and that didn't work out. So I ended up working a 9 to 5, and then I I started going part-time because, again, I was going to try to focus on my tarot, and then that didn't work out. And when I decided to quit the day that I quit, I didn't realize there was a lot of shit going on mentally, that obviously, because eventually I ended up in a fucking psych ward a couple months later. But I thought it was just because, again, I was going to do my tarot, and that was going to be what I was going to focus on. And though those were the intent, that's not what ended up happening. Life changed very, very quickly. Life kind of took the biggest toll ever, and all that I had used to cope shifted. So I didn't realize the defense mechanism my whole entire life was daydreaming. And when I found out I had DID, I couldn't daydream anymore because that shit would become a reality in the headspace, and it made me uncomfortable. When I first found out I had DID, I romanticized the whole thing. Not because I was like, yeah, I want it, but in my head, I was like, cool, I have a bunch of people who are friends that are with me all the time. And then reality hit, and not all of them are friends. Hell, there's a lot of trauma within a lot of our connections, a lot of our relationships, and the sun is leaving me again. But I had to kind of accept that that's what it was at the time. And so with everything that was changing and everything that was shifting, I became really uncomfortable. I was never a kid who loved change. I remember at school, in high school, when the lunch shift would change, and I would be like, who am I going to sit with? Are any of my friends going to be in there? And then those moments where my friends weren't in there, what was I supposed to do? I just did things that, that just made me feel even worse, because I was scared. I was just scared to talk to people at the time. I was scared to make new friends. I was scared to just be myself, and see if people would actually like me. And so I stuck to so many things that it all became hard. And when these big changes that started happening in my life, there was like this huge tug of war, and I'm still going through this tug of war today with myself of, do we accept this change or do we not? Part of me says yes, go all in. A part of me says no, run away. And I'm used to running away. I'm used to escaping. I'm used to not addressing changes, not addressing my pain, not addressing the things that I desire in my life. I'm used to just not doing that. And it's like the universe is urging me to be the opposite, but part of me doesn't want to be the opposite. It's scary. Change is scary, and I couldn't handle it, and still to this day can't fucking handle it. A big thing that I want to talk about is fear. And through all this, I started to fear myself, fear my beliefs, fear if I was being truthful to myself. I decided that, I just lacked all the trust in the changes that were happening in the divine in myself. When I first got here, I was so optimistic and I could feel things shift. But when I couldn't see the changes that I was making in the physical fast enough, I stopped and I lost all trust in everything. And a part of me still feels like that right now. I get really angry because I'm being told by mentors, by readings, by just this energy that things are shifting, that you're coming into something beautiful, but I can't see that happening. I still feel stuck. I still feel alone. I still feel like I'm not doing enough for myself. I'm not working. I'm not making any financial ways of support. And when I try to not dwell on that, somebody tends to throw it in my face. I'm still in a really dark mental space. I'm trying all these new medications and all these new health tricks, and it's like I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm exhausted, and it's to the point where I don't want to believe. Even though a part of me does, and a part of me, there's always, no matter how much I try to lose faith, there's always a part of me that refuses. That's like, there is something out there. There's something beautiful, and you've seen in those moments that they did beautiful things. But sometimes, at least the energy that I'm in right now, there's a bigger part of me that's taking over, and it's that part that's like, why the fuck is there so much negative if we're supposed to be beyond this? We're supposed to be beyond something so minuscule. There's so many ugly ass people in this world, and it's to the point that I'm just like, why not fucking join them? Why not be just like them? Because even all this time where I tried to be connected, and I tried to be, you know, trusting the universe and trusting God and trusting all these things that are supposed to be above and beyond me, and but also a part of me at the same time, but things are still negative and things are still horrible to me. I don't want to be positive anymore. I don't want to have a positive outlook. I don't want to do coping skills. I don't want to try to help myself, because I've been doing this for so long and I feel like I'm over it, you know? And I know it's just like, you're 22 years old, like you really haven't been doing it for a long time, but it feels like I have. I feel like I've been in survival mode for all these years of my life, and I don't want to be anymore. Like I'm tired of it. You know, it's like, it's exhausting. And then when I get angry and I get to feeling like this and I get to feeling frustrated, I start to feel guilty for being angry, for being frustrated, for being pissed off at the world. Because how dare I? How dare I one moment cuss out my spiritual team and just say, fuck it, I don't believe in this and it's not a thing anymore. And then the next moment try to ask for their help and just try to say sorry. It makes me feel like I'm a crazy person. Like a crazy person. Like I'm fucking mental for being like this and for expecting them to just give to me, expecting them to just do for me when I'm not doing for them. You know, I can't show up for them every single day, so why should they show up for me even in these moments of need? Why should I ask for their help when I'm getting pissed off at them and not trusting them? It's hard, it's difficult. It makes me feel incredibly invalid and just unworthy, because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And the other day I really felt like this, and I just lost my shit. And sorry y'all. It made me feel horrible. You know, I felt horrible during it, after it. You know, I lost my mind, and there was a part of me that was like, why are you doing this? Why are you allowing this to consume you so much? And mind you, like I said, I just started a new medication, and I have a history of bipolar in my family. I have a history of schizophrenia. I have a history of a lot of other things in my family, and this medication, if you have the history of those things, can kind of sometimes trigger the person. So it could be that my emotions have really been all over the place. My body's been feeling sick. I've been feeling drained. So I do think I'm experiencing some of the side effects of starting this medication. The hope is that eventually it'll work. If not, hell, at least I tried. But pushing that aside, like, even if it wasn't the medication, it was just me, I felt embarrassed. With myself, with how I was acting, even though nobody else saw it but me. But I felt like my guides saw it, and I felt like I was doing them a disservice. I just saw 3333. And so I feel like they shouldn't be walking with me because of how I act. And I remember that night I was laying down. It wasn't even that night. It was a little bit after that experience. I laid down. One of my headmates, one of my alters, was like, Vanna, just pray. They said, just pray. They said, just talk to your spiritual team. They said, just do it. And I was like, I don't feel like I'm deserving of it. And they're like, I know you feel like that, but they wouldn't be walking with you if they weren't willing to see you at your lowest, if they weren't willing to see you experience it all. They said, if, and they put this out there, but they're like, if there is something bigger out there, why wouldn't they accept you even when there's a part of you that doesn't feel 100%? Why would they be willing to promise you all these beautiful things that you keep getting promised if they weren't willing to see you and help you in those times of struggling? And even as I talk about this, you know, it's I keep hearing, you know, there's a part of you that still believes. Even if the conscious mind is like, this is not real, none of this exists, you know, it's all fake, there's a part of me that doesn't feel that way. There's a part of me that refuses to believe that that's the truth. And so if you've been feeling like this or ever felt like this, I bring that question to you as well. If there is something out there that is bigger than us right now, but our souls are connected to, why wouldn't they be willing to help us in this human experience, even when we're at our lowest, when there's still a part of us that still believes? It just makes me really emotional, because though it makes sense, there's still a part of me that is like, dude, like, you feel in the wrong right now. I feel in the wrong. I feel like I'm the one fucking up. I'm the one not believing. I'm the one not trusting. I'm the one doubting and unable to find trust, unable to find peace of mind, unable to even want to believe. Like, I feel like I can't. I just feel like it's gone. Like, where do I turn to actually accept this part of me? That's difficult. It's really hard to find it. It's really hard to see it. But, and this is taking me back to an experience I had in college. My college communications class was a theater class, and we had an assignment, and the assignment was everybody was going to be sitting on the edge of the room, and one person, and one at a time, and through the chair order, would stand up and stand in the middle and just be. Look everybody in the eyes and just be. And literally what our teacher wanted us to do was stand there, no faces, no anything, and just look at everybody in their eyes and just be in that moment. And I remember we did it once, and the first couple of people did okay, and then there was like one person that started like moving uncomfortably, or started like waving and stuff like that, you know, and he didn't say anything. He let us continue all the way through, and it got to me, and I did the same thing, because at that point we were all just like, this is uncomfortable just to stand here, so let's make it like interesting. And so we got up and we did that, and then he stood up and said, okay, so what I wanted to tell you guys is you guys weren't just being, you got uncomfortable, you let the uncomfortable take over you, and so we're gonna do it again, and this time I want you to just stand there. And he demonstrated it to us. Stand there, look everybody in the eyes, and just be. Don't feel like you gotta move, don't feel like you gotta do this, XYZ, whatever, just be. And I was like, okay. So we did it again, and all of us did that. We just stood there, just looked everybody in the eyes, and we were just being. And though that moment was really uncomfortable for us, it's also one of those things that you have to realize that sometimes it's just okay to just do it, to just do. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, how anybody else feels, what anybody else is thinking. It's about you being in the experience. And today, as I'm talking about this, as I was writing out my little layout to make sure I was at least staying on track, I've like been having these little tidbits. Like, I listened to a podcast, and mind you, I don't do that, but I went on a walk, I listened to a podcast, and the guy who I listened to, I can actually put the link down below if you're interested, because if you're watching this, you might be on the same level as me, and then if you go to it, you'll probably be on the same level as him. But it was basically like, when you become such a high vibrational person and such a spiritual person, and you become so connected, you feel disconnected from this earth, right? At this point, it's a coping mechanism, it's a defense mechanism, that all this pain that you've been feeling for so many years, you have to grow to believe in something beyond yourself, so that you didn't have to experience that pain, so that you could cope with that pain, work through the trauma, all of that. And then you get to this point where you're so spiritually wise that you feel connected, you had that connection, you had that strong sense of self and truth at one point in your life, that you feel disconnected from the world, and you start becoming bitter. Basically, you start believing that nothing is worth it. It's kind of like he kept saying throughout the whole podcast, this is it. You achieve something really, really, really big, and then it ends up being like, oh, this is the feeling, right? Like, I had worked myself up to this for so long, and this is what it feels like, and you get disappointed and you get upset, and in turn it makes you feel ungrateful. It makes you feel like, you're not worth it, even though you're blessed with this experience. it feels debilitating. It feels just disappointing. You're just disappointed. And maybe that's where I'm at in my life. I'm sorry, I don't know where I was at, but I got a phone call. But listening to his podcast, it was kind of one of those things where it's literally just one of those moments where you have to just be. That's the ultimate goal that he kept saying, is that though our souls are beyond, right? And so sometimes all these experiences feel worthless. All these experiences feel less than. They feel like they're nothing. We incarnated on this earth to experience the human experience. And that includes negative emotions. That includes disappointment. That includes things that really don't feel worthwhile. But to the human, to someone who's not spiritually inclined, to someone who is not connected in that way, all of this is their reality. This is their reality. They don't think beyond that. They think very concretely. And sometimes I do feel a little bit envious, you know, to be able to just experience a world that you're supposed to be in and be in your body and feel safe, being fully coherent in your body and in the experience. It's difficult. I know sometimes when I or any of us in my system become very real in the body, we start to freak out because we're constantly in this disassociated state. We're constantly not connected to the human experience, to earth and this world as we speak. But I think I got shown that thing, and I started like journaling in a certain manner, and I'm noticing the words that keep coming up is exhaustion. I'm tired. I don't want to be this highly spiritual being anymore, to the point that I'm constantly trauma healing. I'm constantly trying to figure out what's next and how do I ascend even more. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I think maybe universe is trying to tell me to stop. Right now, I don't have to. Like, the key words so I did this journal exercise, and one of the things that I kept highlighting when I went back and looked after the 20 minutes of me writing was that I kept saying, right now. I don't want to be trauma healing right now. I don't want to be this exhausted anymore. I don't want to be overly critical of myself right now. I don't want to be thinking about what I can heal right now. Like, the words right now were so consistent throughout the whole entire writing thing, and I realized it's just right now I just want to be a human being. I just want to experience life rawly, and though I still want to have that connection, I want to do things for fun. When I started doing tarot, it was for fun, and now I'm constantly trying to think of how can I make this a living so that I can please the people in my life, and I don't have to hear them bullshit about me not doing something right now. Okay, even though I'm in school, I'm trying to get something so I can eventually get a job that I enjoy and get a better degree. It's still, when they get pissed off at me, it gets brought up in my face, and apparently I'm not doing enough, and that's frustrating. And I don't want to please anybody anymore. My note right here says people pleasing, even to God, even to universe, helps no one. It doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't make you happy. It doesn't really make them happy either. Yeah, they're getting what they want in that moment, but the moment you decide to walk away, then all of their world, everything that you cater to them, stops. And so, with all that being said, if you saw my brain turning and saw me kind of coming to this realization, it's because I'm coming to it together with you fully throughout this video. But we're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to be a human. If you feel tired and exhausted of constantly having to just always be optimistic and an unhealthy amount of optimism, and you're like toxic positivity, throw that shit out the window. Allow yourself to get angry sometimes. Allow yourself to speak for yourself. Allow yourself to do something for you. If that's how you feel in that moment, don't overthink it. Something I do still to this day is ask, should I do something? But if the thought came into my head, why the fuck can't I just do it? If in the end something comes out of it that I shouldn't have done that, then I know. But it's okay for me to learn lessons. It's okay for me to experience and see later, and that's something that I'm trying to grasp. So if you're also trying to grasp, you're not alone. You know, the human experience is not supposed to be butterflies and rainbows all the time. It's not supposed to be something that's always beautiful. Our souls know of things that are always beautiful, and I think sometimes, a gust of wind just blew in it. Ooh. Sometimes when we're conscious We think that that's what our lives have to be like. And even as somebody who is aware that social media is not 24/7, I can sense when somebody is having a happy experience. And I feel envious sometimes, because even in moments where I should be having a happy experience, I'm drained. I feel exhausted. And so as I navigate this, I just want to leave y'all with one thing, that it's okay for our journey to be ugly. It's gonna have their beautiful moments, it's gonna have its ugly moments, but by the time we leave this earth, I don't want you to worry about the nitty-gritty things. We shouldn't be worried about the tiny things, because that's not what we're gonna be thinking about. I want us to be able to reflect and be like, hey, I grew so much. I had so much fun in this experience. I don't want any of us to regret our lives on this earth, because truthfully right now, I don't know if my soul is going to reincarnate on this earth again. Right now, I don't want it to. And so for me to get the full experience, and for me to not fully have to at the moment, I need to just experience it. We need to just experience it as a human, in the lens and the view and the eyes of a human being. Which means experiencing the bad and letting it be bad for a little bit, but also allowing those experiences to be good. We can't, and this is what that podcast was talking about, we can't allow our experiences with something in the past to determine our future. So say something happened in the past, you remembered, for example, I'll just use the example he said, he got like 100,000 or 100 million followers, right? And in that experience, when he experienced it, he was like, this is it. He was like, obviously, I'm grateful for everyone, but he expected and put expectations on the feelings that he thought he was going to experience. And so when he didn't feel those feelings, he felt disappointed. But when he hit 300 million, he decided, instead of just being like, this is it, instead of just saying, these are the feelings I'm feeling right now, he didn't put expectations on it. He allowed himself to experience it. He allowed himself to experience the disappointment, the happiness, the everything that came in that moment. He just experienced it. He was just being. And all in all, that's what we need to do. We need to just be. We need to just experience. We need to just live in the moment. And a quote that I wrote on here that I have to leave y'all with is, if the universe, God, spirit, whatever you believe in, if their love is so unconditional for you, why isn't yours? Why do you not feel unconditional love for yourself? And that's something that's like hitting me hard, because I feel like I have to do all these things to be worthy of anything. But that's just not true. That's not true. It's not fair to ourselves to believe that we have to be this perfect being, when in this experience, we're here to experience the imperfection of being humans, the imperfections of life, and we're here to learn to embrace those. Who knows what the hell our experiences were in any other lifetime, any other planet, or wherever the fuck it could have been that we were incarnated as. Who knows right now? And maybe you'll learn it, and maybe you won't, and that's fucking okay. We just need to learn to accept ourselves for who we are, accept our world, our reality, and we need to make this world our reality as well for what it is. And it's okay for it to be ugly. It's okay for it to be messy sometimes. That doesn't mean that's the overall feeling. As long as we remember to experience those moments of joy, nothing else matters. And so I leave you guys with that. I gotta go put some steaks in the damn sink before they get home. But I thank you guys so much for listening. And I just looked at my clock and it says 3:45 p.m. If you've heard it before, I've been talking about this angel number because I learned about it while writing a book, which is also on Whitepad if anybody is curious about it. But the angel number 345 talks about all the changes you're going through are necessary for your ascension. And so, I'm going to say I love you guys very, very much. I will see you guys on Thursday. It's going to be a way older video that I end up posting. You will see my hair is going to be different XYZ, but that's okay. Because I have like 3 tarot readings that are edited just sitting in the drafts right now. So, I will get one of those to you guys come Thursday. And with all that being said, I will see you guys at the next one. Bye, my loves.